Hey, everybody. Welcome to the live stream, the Strategy Hacker live stream. So excited to be here today. It's the middle of CES and all kinds of insanity is going on. I hope everybody's doing well. We should be live everywhere on, let's see, YouTube Live, LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, Twitch, Periscope. May it rest in peace soon. They're taking Periscope down. It's amazing to me that they can't get that to work for them, which is unfortunate because it's such a wonderful service. Twitter had an amazing opportunity with Vine and they couldn't make that work. Now we have TikTok, which basically is a better version of what Vine was. And killing Periscope in the age of video. Obviously, it's not core to their business. Obviously, there are issues. But wow, it's really unfortunate they can't make it work. So chat is up everywhere, folks. I can see a lot of you are coming. Please check in. Tell me where you are. I know, Kathy, you're in Los Angeles. Yes, Bob, you're coming in from virtual CES, but from where? Hi, Mickey. Hey, Seth. How are you? Howie Schwartz. So good to see you here. Look, those of you who don't know Howie Schwartz owned Howard Schwartz Recorders. They're the finest recording studio on the island of Manhattan. And back in the day, it was one of the very first recording studios I ever got a chance to walk into. It was in the Gray Bar building, 420 Lexington Avenue. So spectacular. I mean, it was just amazing. The number of amazing people I met there and the hundreds of recording sessions that I did in those studios there. Just unbelievable. And in fact, I liked the studio so much that when Howie wanted to switch over to a later model console in 86, I think it was 85 or 86, I ended up buying the big MCI console out of the main studio at Howard Schwartz Recorders. That was a big day for us. Getting it down the elevator in the Gray Bar building, that was something. I'm sure, Howard, you remember that day like I do. Wow, it was amazing. What an amazing time and amazing world. Hello, everybody. Wow, live chat's lighting up. I really see it. It's fantastic. Welcome, everybody. Please check in from where you are. Casey, Bob, you're in Cleveland. That's amazing. Doug Guthrie from Atlanta. Ken Gold from Atlanta. Welcome. Jan from Norway and Natasha from Brazil. And wow, this is fantastic. From sunny Seattle. And Walter from Rotterdam. This is amazing. Just what a wonderful crowd. So look, today CES is on. So if you've got questions about CES, we have been all over this. Pardon me. For the last couple of weeks, we did Alan Kagan. How are you? Where are you in? You're from Long Island somewhere, Al Kagan. How are you? And by the way, Al Kagan, Howie Schwartz, Al Kagan is on this chat. And that's got to be unbelievable for both of you guys, considering the history we all have together. It's amazing to me how many people from my music past and my production past have found their way to this spectacular kind of new way to communicate. It's just great. Scott Moss, welcome from Minnesota. I know it's 41 degrees there. Fantastic. Jonathan from Vienna and Bob and Kenzie from Toronto. So CES is on. This is an Ask Me Anything kind of day. I don't know if I'm going to have every answer, but and there's a lot going on today. Congress is in session. They're trying to get a vote together to impeach the President of the United States for inciting insurrection. I'd rather not talk politics today, but there's no way to get around that. That's what's happening right now. That's where we are. You guys, please, if you want to talk politics, you can do it on the chat. You could even ask me some political questions. I'm not a big fan of what happened in Washington on the 6th of January, and I've been very vocal in my writing, and I'm not a political guy, and I don't like to talk politics. I have always tried to keep my politics separate from my business. All of you who know me well know that's true. This is America. We all have the right to our opinions, but as Daniel Patrick Moynihan so aptly said years ago, we don't have the right, nor are we entitled to our own facts. So facts and evidence are the facts and evidence. You'll vote your conscience. I hope the Congress does the right thing and we can move on. Moving on, in my case, in our case today, is to talk about the things that we can do to make the world a better place. As a technologist, I am always super optimistic. That's just my nature. Technology has always been a gateway to the future. And while not all technology is always used for the good of mankind, mostly scientific discovery has helped us out across the board. And certainly technological progress has helped us more than it has hurt us. Now, I could argue that a couple of ways. Hello from Nigeria. Wow, I don't know if I could pronounce your name. Is it Olajir or Olajeri? I apologize for not being able to get that just right. Oh, that's not your name. Your name is Marcus. No, I've got it right. But that's I'm hopeless here. I will never get that pronounced right, and I apologize right now. Keith Newman, yeah. That's King of Vic. You know what? Here is to Sheldon Adelson. May he rest in peace. In my tradition, we say, may his name be for a blessing. 87 years old. We saw eye to eye on nothing. He was a very tough, solid business guy he owned the Venetian. For those of you who don't know, he was founder, owner of half the things in that town. One of the really most power figures, his relationship with Comdex, and he was Comdex for all intents and purposes. So yeah, I mean, it was a powerhouse. So may he rest in peace, and may his name be for a blessing. He and I saw eye to eye on absolutely nothing. I've had many wonderful meetings with Sheldon Adelson that all ended with me being disappointed in the outcome. But there was nothing not to like about him. We just didn't agree on stuff. What happened to the stream yesterday, Scott Moss? Good question. YouTube was horrible. LinkedIn was pretty good. So LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn was good yesterday. I know Facebook was good. Twitch that nobody was on was really good. And Periscope was perfect. LinkedIn, YouTube, we had an interesting problem with YouTube yesterday. So, by the way, all of you know, or maybe if you don't, we did system tests all week last week. In fact, we did one Monday night. And I think I was annoying people, literally annoying people. We were checking bit rates because I wanted to make sure that we were inside the bit rate capabilities of each of the channels. And hello, Don Levine from Westbury. And then we were being very, very careful. We were looking at audio resolution. Would 160 do it? We were mostly talking. Can we get away with 128? Do we need to go to 192? 3? Like, we were just trying to look and see where everything could be. Test after test after test. I was completely paranoid. I literally completely paranoid about, was this stream going to come off without a hitch? Big sponsors, Facebook, Google, and Samsung, and we wanted to do them proud. We really, really did. So, and we did do them proud. And Google kind of talked to me about what happened with YouTube. As best I can figure, because we saw it happening in real time. Like, we saw YouTube start perfectly, and about 10 minutes in, while the signal to Facebook and the signal to LinkedIn and Twitch and Periscope were all being received perfectly, we started to see the handshake protocols start to jitter. And then we had a degraded stream to YouTube, and YouTube couldn't take the data at the speed we were sending it, which made no sense at all. I mean, it was a 4,000 megabit stream. I had no idea. Yeah, Bob Sopko, you were on with us the night before. We and the tests were good. We're really, I mean, everything was perfect. Look, I don't know, hackers, Russian hackers, I don't know what to call it. Here we are today. The streams all look good. Everything feels right. I got nothing. I got nothing. Everything's telling me it's perfect right now. Of course, doing our big event, one of the 5 streams wasn't what it should be. So, hey, Gabe Greenberg, how are you? So anyway, look, for those of you who are here today, thank you so much for joining. I see a big crowd on YouTube, monster crowd on LinkedIn. Welcome. Please, I see everybody chatting up a storm too, which is wonderful. And I've got chat running here. I can pretty much see everything you guys are chatting to me, and I'm kind of looking down. That's what I'm looking at. So I'd love you to ask some questions and, anything actually you want to ask. I have nothing whatsoever to hide about what we did right yesterday, what we did wrong yesterday, what we're likely to do right again, and what we're likely to do wrong again. This is a giant, experiment. We're trying to learn something new every day. Lisa Schwab, how are you? Scott Moss, Wanda started talking about 5G. Yeah, she did. Hey, David Hool from Sarasota. I'm happy to talk about 5G if you guys want to, if that's what you guys want to talk about today. I'm completely happy to talk about 5G. Hans did a very nice speech last night. Everybody was impressed. Boy, the set he had was spectacular. I wish 5G was as spectacularly deployed as they had suggested it would be. While we're just getting started here, just real quick, just super quickly, we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping just to tell everybody what's up. First of all, welcome everybody. You're on YouTube. ShellyPalmer.com/live is the URL we've been using. If you are listening today and you're with us, and thank you for being here. How many folks are dialing in to see us virtually? We'll cover that in a minute, Keith Newman. So you're all welcome to join pgx.tech. Many of you I know, I can see, are already members of PGX. It's a private social network. We have about 3,000 members. Everybody's interested in technology, media, marketing, innovation writ large. Everybody is a business leader. If you are interested, if you're a student or if you are a teacher, if you're a business professional, industry professional, we cover 5G, smart home, social media, data of every kind, artificial intelligence, machine learning, quantum computing. Every discipline on the forefront of technology is covered at pgx.tech, and you are absolutely welcome to join. There's a link in the description. You're welcome to click it. It will get you right into PGX, and I think you'll really enjoy meeting the people there. It's a monitored social network. We don't let people talk about anything. There's a lot of conversation about COVID, as you can imagine, and there's a fair amount of political speech, but it's very different, I'm proud to say, than the political speech that you would find on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or Parler. It's none of that. This is people who, we don't allow people to be intellectually lazy or to write in a lazy way. And at PGX, one of the things I'm proudest of is it's never open season on people, but it's always open season on ideas. So you could have a stupid idea, but that doesn't make you stupid. So I don't mind someone calling somebody's idea dumb, but no one's allowed to make a comment about who someone is. So we're trying to keep the conversations high level and the discussions Socratic. And what that means is a thesis is put out there and people just comment on it and try and find the best answer they can find. And the Socratic method, just keep pressing and testing and pressing and testing and pressing and testing until whatever you come away with is the best idea that you can all come away with as a group. And that's the best idea you have. So that's the thesis behind PGX. I hope that you will come and join. And if you are already a PGX member, I hope you will re-engage if you're not engaged every day. There's really interesting stuff happening there every day. The news curator tool that we have constantly puts up the day's biggest stories, and which gives everyone an opportunity to comment. And so I hope you'll do that. If you want to talk to me directly, Shelly at shellypalmer.com, or just DM me on Twitter at Shelly Palmer. I do my very best to answer all of your emails and all of your DMs. I try my hardest to do that. It's a lot, to tell you the truth. So if I don't get you on the same day, you'll forgive me, but I am doing the very best I can. We do, as you know, Monday through Thursdays, have our online networking salons. We're going to keep these up for a while. They're at 11:05 and 11:35. These are really interesting. They're water cooler conversations. I know so many of you are on the daily salons. You can get a calendar invite at shellypalmer.com/salons. And please do and join and just come on and hang out. There's Zoom meetings, so they're interactive. If we get a lot of people, we break into breakout groups. If we get not so many people on a given day, we just hang out and talk about the news of the day. Each one of them is specific to a topic. So on Mondays, it's education, tech, and digital transformation. On Tuesdays, it's AI and machine learning in the morning in the early session, then smart home, which is always an interesting one. Wednesdays, today, we did health and wellness in the morning and 5G and connectivity in the later session. And then on Thursdays, we do media and entertainment and advertising and marketing. So again, if you're interested, go to shellypalmer.com/salons. And there you will find a whole bunch of interesting people that you can talk to. And I hope you'll join us. We also do a bunch of free stuff, and we got a bunch of courses that are at courses.shellypalmer.com. People like the PNG memo, people like our brand playbook generator. There's a life plan roadmap that I put out in midsummer, and I've got a couple of new things coming up. We may be putting some CES stuff up there as well over the next couple of days. So keep checking at courses.shellypalmer.com. Interesting SWOT diagram stuff there. Interesting free download on the PNG memo, and there's a few ebooks there that are also free or very, very inexpensive. For a limited time only, we are still keeping up the store at shellypalmer.com. That there's no Shelly Palmer merchandise in there. It's all Strategy Hacker merchandise, hashtag Strategy Hacker. And you are absolutely welcome to go and purchase. It's a little on the expensive side because it's, not crazy. We haven't bought them in bulk. So they're all kind of custom printed at Printful or Designful or whichever one of these services we're using. But we are donating all of the money that we earn to charity. It's all going to the Pediatric Cancer Center at Memorial Sloan. So if you want to have some Strategy Hacker swag, go ahead and grab some there and know that while it is more expensive than it should be, it's all going to what I think is a really good cause. Okay, let's answer some of your questions. So I see how are, wow, there's a bunch of them here. Let's take these a few at a time. 5G seems to be a big, Steve Bradbury, given the relative decentralization of our electric grid, the internet, are you concerned that either both will be impacted by the current efforts to disrupt normal life? I'm not really that worried about the power grid or the internet. And I'll tell you why. If the internet were going to be disrupted, it would already have been done. I'm not speaking out of school, nor am I saying anything that everyone who knows how to use Google knows how to do. Google transatlantic internet cables, trans-Pacific internet cables, just Google. You will get a map. That map will show you where the cables that connect the continents hit the beach. They're also on every chart as they enter the harbors, because where they're not deep enough to be protected from boat propellers, they want sea captains to navigate around them on big boats. So it's all charted. It would take about one motivated individual with some C4 to do crazy damage to the communication system globally. Coordinated attack would be devastating. And it hasn't happened. And this information has been in the public domain since the cables were put under the sea. Everybody knows where they are. I just, there's just been too much access to it. They're not, to my knowledge, they're not guarded. They're not guarded better than the Capitol building. That I'll promise you. That's any indication of the level of security we're talking about. So not worried about it. I'm worried about a lot of things with respect to what's happening with insurrection and unrest and civil unrest. The word insurrection, I think, incites people, but civil unrest is out of control right now. People are angry, and no one gets a pass for what they did. Nobody gets a pass from me for what they did January 6th. Not happening. No one's getting a pass. That's just flat out illegal, and it needs to be stopped. It needs to be stopped immediately. It needs to be stopped hard and fast. Anybody who doesn't think that is wrong, and I will just take a stand. Like January 6th, what I saw was unacceptable at every level. These people need to be identified immediately and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Full stop. End of story. Then we can start discussing what they were concerned about. And I am incensed by people who are telling me that my point of view is divisive and it's a time for healing. Was it a time for healing for the 6 weeks after the election, where half of the country was telling us that the election was, that the 80 million people who voted for the certified winner of the election were wrong? and that it was stolen from them and that wasn't divisive, we stop. It's the United States of America. United States starts there. I have absolutely zero tolerance for anybody doing anything to desecrate the capital of the United States, put our elected officials at risk, and to undermine our democracy at that level. So I have zero tolerance, and I hope they do the right thing. And if they do, that's great. And if they don't, and if you don't agree with that, that's okay. That's okay. I learned that America was called the Great American Experiment in 6th grade on a class trip to Washington. And when I asked my teacher why it was called the American Experiment, or she was calling it the American Experiment, she said to me that it was considered an experiment because a government of the people, by the people, and for the people had never been tried before the United States was founded, and it wasn't guaranteed to be successful. And that is a lesson that I was taught on the steps of the United States Capitol building. I have zero tolerance for this. Zero. So we're going to have civil unrest now. I guess we are. We've had it before. This is not a new thing. Anybody who's on this stream right now who's old enough to remember Kent State, who's old enough to remember the civil rights movement of the 60s, to remember I was 5 years old when John F. Kennedy was shot. I was 10 years old when Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. The Vietnam War didn't end until I was the fall of Saigon. I graduated high school the year Saigon fell and America lost the Vietnam War, and that was lost or withdrew from. You can call it what you want. A lot of people died. We've had civil unrest. There were plenty of people who were upset about that. They were picking up arms. They were rioting. There was crazy stuff going on. It's not the first time crazy stuff's gone on in America. It isn't. We'll get through it. I feel we will. And I hope we've got the right leadership to help us get there. But I have faith in the American people. I really do. I have faith in the Constitution. And I have faith in our constitutional republic. We've come this far. We'll keep going. All right, moving on. Let's start talking 5G. Ladies and gentlemen, 5G goes like this. It is 95% marketing hype and 5% marketing hype. I usually use a different word, but I don't like to curse when I'm being recorded. 5G has a use case. It has a lot of use cases. Great use cases. And when it is fully deployed, we will all enjoy low latency, high bandwidth goodness. What will that mean? It'll mean nothing that they're telling you today. Right now, 5G means you could make a faster phone call? No, that's not what's happening. Download a movie faster? Yeah, you can. Do you need to? You're streaming. Will you stream any faster? No. Will you stream better? No. Will there still be contention for the line, for the tower that you're trying to get to, the wireless connection, to get a socket in a wireless server? Yes. So there's nothing about your experience that's going to be better on a 5G phone than on a 4G phone, except possibly first-person shooter video games with other people who are playing first-person shooter video games, assuming they're have a 5G backhaul to the tower they're on, and the network topology is favorable to a low latency, high bandwidth environment. And unless that's happening, there's no benefit. People like to talk about the benefits of industrial 5G. Yeah, definitely. There are benefits to industrial 5G. Wireless machines that can have a low latency network, low latency connections to robots and factories and warehouses, stuff like that. Sure, absolutely. Those are not the 5G networks that people are going to access. So, yeah. We will inevitably live in a 5G world. And if I live long enough, a 6G world. And if I live long enough, a 7G world. We will get there. We literally will get there. And I'm excited about it. I hope it happens soon. It's going to cost a fortune. There are some physics that have to be dealt with. There are, in the United States, these are going to be real. I think if we are honest with ourselves, we're very honest with ourselves, what we need more than 5G networks in urban and suburban areas is to ensure that there is a good, solid, high bandwidth connection available to every child who needs one, in every school-age child who needs one, to have an online education. And I think that should be job one when it comes to our education budget. The number that keeps getting quoted to me is that roughly 1/3 of the children in the United States during 2020 who were forced to learn from home had the appropriate equipment, bandwidth, and environment to do so. That's crazy. Also, if you're trying to run a cottage industry, yesterday during our Innovation Series Summit, which you can see the highlights of at ces.shellypalmer.com. You can visit there, and each of the speeches, my little keynote and Carolyn's speech and Carolyn's interview and Wanda's interview and Barack's presentation are all set up separately, so you can watch them separately, and bandwidth won't be an issue, I don't think. Carolyn said there were more businesses started in 2020 than ever before. New businesses. In order to make those businesses competitive, they're going to need great broadband. Required. Can't compete in a digital world without great broadband. And so to me, the democratization of good, solid, hardcore broadband, that matters to me. And if 5G could offer that promise to everyone quickly, sure. What 5G offers right now for everybody who wants to understand 5G is it offers the carrier an opportunity not to go into your home. It's a last mile convenience for the carrier. There is nothing more expensive for Verizon or AT&T than rolling a truck and opening your front door and sending someone in there to deal with a dog that might bite them, or the crazy hours it's going to take to figure out how to get the cables hidden so that you don't get upset with them. It is really, really tough. They would rather never, and the same thing with the cable television connection, they would much rather be wireless into your home. So much easier for them, so much cheaper, so much better at every single level. Less linemen, less people riding around in trucks all day, lower payroll costs. It's just, everything about it for provisioning is better for the carrier. They are highly motivated to get 5G happening. Benefit to you? Yeah, same benefit. You don't have a guy coming in your house. You don't got wires everywhere. I'm in. I'm all in. All in. Let's just see it happen. We're talking a frightening amount of money. Frightening amount of money that has to, that just has to change hands. So yeah, that's where that is. 65,000 registered to CES seminars, generally really positive, minimal visiting booths. They're open for 30 days. I heard bigger numbers, Bob. The numbers I heard, it's from Bob Sacco, the numbers I heard from a CES board member was that they had something like 115,000 people register and create profiles. I found that to be impossible as a number. I heard it from a person who I don't think is someone who is prone to hyperbole, but wow, that made kind of zero sense to me. So your number feels right, but I've heard bigger numbers. I think your number feels right to me. Thank you, Carolyn Wall. Don't be incensed, be righteous. I really don't want to talk politics. I just want this to get handled by the people who think politics are important and want to do right by the country. And I think we have elected leaders. They should do their job. If they don't do their job, at least up to now, we've been entitled to the peaceful transfer of power for every elected position. We should just vote them out and vote in the ones that can do the work. We're in a representative democracy in a constitutional republic. We elect our leaders. They make our decisions for us. These are the leaders we've elected. Hopefully they'll make the right decisions. I hope they will. Moving on. Best description I've seen for 4G was for humans is 5G for machines. Yeah, I've heard that too. 5G hype at CS is absurd, so the lack of interactivity with the sessions. There's just a lot of noise about it. Again, it's 95% marketing hype and 5% marketing hype. It really is just not there yet. If you want to get serious about your own home connections, Wi-Fi 6 is starting to happen now. You want to do a good audit for yourself on this is the Strategy Hacker live stream. We talk strategy, personal strategy across the board. Make sure you've got Cat 5e or Cat 6 cables everywhere in your house. make sure you've got a decent switch that is, compatible with those cables, and that you're at the highest possible throughput. Looking into your modem, if you have an old modem, there's a thing that modems do automatically called exponential backoff. You should look it up if you don't know what it is. It's built in. It's a communications protocol. Exponential backoff is the way that a modem prevents itself from getting overloaded when you start sending it a ton of information. That's probably the weakest link in anybody's broadband connection. And so if you want to have a really good, solid broadband connection in the house, and you want to make sure that you've got good broadband throughout your Wi-Fi in the house, as well as wired. First of all, wire everything you can with 5e or 6, Cat 6 or Cat 5e. 5e will be fine. Cat 6, better. Although it may not be better, it may just be more expensive depending on what switch you're using and what speeds your internet is. But at the end of the day, there's a little bit of writing at shellypalmer.com in our work from home. I think it's shellypalmer.com/WFH for work from home. It's a resource page, and I go into the various kinds of Ethernet cables, switches, and modems. The only other thing I would say to people is that the Windows 10 firewall is the one that's built in is pretty decent. If all your ports are closed and you're VPNing into your own system, that's as protected as you're going to need to be. Professional hackers will be able to do things that you can't prevent, anything you just can't prevent. But the average person, casual person, is not going to be able to hurt you in any way at that point. And then the one last thing I would say is, and it's just dealer's choice, you can set up 2 Wi-Fi networks in your house. One, and the Verizon routers do this, AT&T routers do this, the ones you get from them. I think every modern router does. You can set up a guest network and then a private network in your house and never give out your network password. I actually don't think it's that important because the firewalls tend to protect you. But if you live in a rural or a suburban area where you've got a nice wooden house and the signal is easily accessible from the street, having a password like cutepuppy123 isn't great, and having the network open to the outside world. That's the last line of protection. So good cabling, good modem, the right switch. These are things you can do. If you haven't updated this stuff in a while, CES, once in January, you say, wow, all this cool stuff is happening right now. Let's go for it. It's like, yeah, you go for it on a poorly wired or a poorly provisioned network. It's not really going to help you very much. So since everything is about streaming and, you're wondering, are you getting the most out of the modem? Are you getting the most out of your connection? That's how to go check. And you really should. Let's see what other people are asking. Oh, SpaceX. We could talk about that a little bit. Why not use Cat 8 if replacing or putting in new? The difference in cost is minimal. You're not buying these items every day. Absolutely right. There's no reason. The only reason that I said to people that it's not super important just now is that in a year when I think we're going to see money get tighter than we've seen in a long time, I'm not advocating running around the house rewiring everything. If you have Cat 5e, you're probably good. If you're buying new, most people, unless you know why you need Cat 6, Cat 7, Cat 8, anything higher than Cat 6, unless you know why you need it, you probably don't. And, it's interesting because a lot of the wiring around my house, my apartment here in New York, the cabling around here, put in years ago, we're talking 20 years ago. There's in my apartment here, there are, in every room, there's 2 coax cables, and that's a pack that has 2 5e cables in it. So that's it's a jacketed 4-strand cable, 2 coax, a white and a black, and a blue and a white Ethernet 5e cable. Then tie wrapped to it everywhere in the house is another 2, a red and a yellow Cat 5e cable. So there were 4 Cat 5e connections and 2 coax connections to every room in the house. And in the room I'm sitting in now, which is my converted home office, there are actually 4 of those connections, a ton of wired connections in here. The coax I don't use anymore. I wish I had run fiber around the house. I have fiber to a couple places, and I have fiber between where I'm sitting right now and the NASs that I work with for video editing and for storage. So that's fiber channel. I don't need that anywhere else in the house. I just don't. You need it to edit. You need it for the media server to move files back and forth. You're moving a 100 gigabyte 4K file. You definitely want to do that over something that's a little more robust than a normal Ethernet cable, because you'll spend the rest of your life waiting. It's just, nobody can survive those time lags. Anyway, so I'm just saying, this is the time of year I think about new, faster, better, cooler, happier technology. Cabling always makes a big difference when you're doing that. Okay, more questions. Let's see what you guys have written here. I like this question. What's the best idea for the small business that that can work during this pandemic, since big companies are busy retrenching? This is going to be a really interesting time for everybody in business. And the number one piece of advice I am trying to give everybody, I'm going to tell you a very personal story. A lot of you know that my dearest friend from childhood, dearest friend, we met when he was 5 and I was 4. We lived next door to one another. We were inseparable through high school. We have remained very, very close. He lives in Florida. He is an orthopedic surgeon and really smart. And I always looked up to him. He is older than I am. He was always a grade ahead. And at the end of March, the end of February, he was put on a ventilator with COVID, as was his office manager's mother. Although his office manager, who also contracted the disease, she gave it to her mother, was asymptomatic. Her mother passed away on March 27th. She, of course, was never sick. And my friend, after 28 days on a vent and another 3 months in the hospital, came out of the hospital and has worked his way back to, he can now walk 4 miles a day, and his pulse ox is at 97, 98%. And his voice has come back, and he feels like the fog is lifted. He feels good. He feels solid and really good. And so he went to reopen his practice, and on November 3rd, which he did. And he's used to seeing, call it November of 2019, used to seeing 40 to 50 patients a day, very in demand, minimally invasive spine surgeon, one of the best in the world, a lecturer, a teacher, amazing guy. We don't see eye to eye politically. We never have, but that has never stopped us from being the best of friends. He calls me up the other day. He just had a birthday, and he's a year and a month older than I am. And so just had a birthday. I called him on his birthday, and he called me back so we could spend some time on the phone. There are now, and he owns his own OR, and he owns his own building, and he owns his own practice. And it was a big enterprise because he's a really smart guy, successful guy, and a really good doctor. Instead of 40 to 50 patients a day, he's seeing 6. Not because he wants to see 6, because that's what he can do. Not because of his health, because that's what's happening. That there's only 6 people a day. That 5 to 6 people a day his practice was closed for months because he was in the hospital. When he reopened it, he let everybody know that he was open for business. generally his minimally invasive spine surgery, the referrals come from lawyers who help accident victims who've, had spine injuries and they need help. And, he does an awful lot of work, emergency work, and people who have, trauma to their spines from either falling or car accidents. And because it's Florida, it's an elderly population. So we're talking about how things are, and things are great. We're having a great convo. And I said, so how's business? He goes, oh my God, I think I'm going to need to declare bankruptcy. And I thought he was kidding. I said, yeah, it's a tough year for everybody. We've all had to reinvent ourselves. Business is tough. And he's like, no, I'm seeing 5 to 6 patients a day. And me not knowing anything about a medical practice and certainly not knowing anything about his medical practice is, well, is that a lot or a little? And he was like, man, I'm used to seeing 40, 50 patients a day. Like, well, this place is usually, the waiting room is 20 people thick. And we can't survive on 4 to 5 people a day, no matter what they pay, no matter what's wrong with them. We can't. And I said to him, well, it'll pick up. He goes, no, this has been this way since November. I said, well, is it because you had COVID and people think you might be contagious or something? He goes, no. He doesn't think that's the issue. I said, well, because you aren't open? He said, no, I mean, that's, our referrals all know we're open. Referrers all know we're open. And we went round and round, and I played 20 questions because, let's face it, I'm in marketing, specifically data-driven marketing, specifically tech strategy and solutions marketing. So we deal with the biggest marketers in the world and some small ones too. I played 20 questions with him. And I kept asking, like, okay, so it's because of this, it's because of that. He had no way to understand, not because it's a small practice. There wasn't enough data for him to understand why people aren't. He was guessing maybe less people are driving, there are less car accidents, less injuries, people are afraid to go to the doctor. That he went through the whole list of things he was afraid might be true. It was pretty convincing and pretty depressing. Here's the kicker. I am telling you that my childhood friend is a really smart person. By my standards, he's smarter than I am and has always been. And I said to him, you're thinking about this in a really impractical and unfortunate way. You cannot solve a 21st century problem, specifically a 2021 problem, with a 20th century solution. So what are you trying to accomplish? And he stopped and he said, well, I'm a doctor and I'm an orthopedic surgeon and I do orthopedic surgery. I said, fantastic. So has that changed? He said, no. I said, fine. What has? And we started to go through this list in a different way. And I said to him, look, you have to play a game. And this is the advice. The long answer to your question comes down to this very short piece of advice. You have a skill set. You have assets. There are capabilities that you have good command and control over. List them. I can operate on people's spines and make them feel better. I can fix knees. I can fix shoulders and elbows. I can fix hands, but I have a guy I'd rather have do that. Take it off the table. What are your core skills? What are you great at? What do you have a reasonable expectation that you're the best in the world at? What can you do that nobody else can do? Or what can you do really well that a lot of other people do? And this is the one people miss all the time. Oh, well, there's so many people doing that, I can't compete. Are you kidding me? There's so many people doing it. There's a real business there and a pile of money, and you just need to be good. You don't need to be great. You need to be consistently good in a business that's busy. You don't have to reinvent something, you don't have to invent something no one's ever touched before. That's actually kind of hard. But what do you have a reasonable expectation that you're one of the best in the world at? Once you get that down, then you have to count up your assets. I have X amount of money available to me. I have a roof over my head. I got some video lights and a video camera. I got a smartphone. What do you have that you can use to leverage? And then the question, the new drill is, What do I have to put together using free tools, the assets I have, my brains, my hands, my capabilities, and what I believe is the needs of the market? How do I put that together to earn a living in 2021? Some people call that reinvention. I would call it adaptation and survival. Now, I went down this list with him. I spent an hour and a half on the phone on this track after we'd already been on the phone for an hour. And we talked it through. It's like, is there expert witnessing you can do with your knowledge? Is there a way you can teach? Is there some telehealth? Is there, I was just down the list of things you can do with that knowledge base that don't include having 50 people sitting in a waiting room waiting for you. Are there other things that the building can be used for? Are there ways to adapt the building? And just literally down the list. And at the end, we came up with a solid list of adaptations, some of which are easier than others, all of which can be tested. If you fail, you learn from it, move on, or you just move on. Some of which will be successful. Will he make the same money in 2021 that he made in 2019? I don't know. But what I do know is that rather than declare bankruptcy and rather than just say, look, I'm a doctor and this is what I do and I can't doctor anymore, so I have to declare bankruptcy, that's not the answer. Can't be the answer. That's not an answer for anybody. And it may, under certain circumstances, be an answer, but it's certainly not the one that I would hope that any of us would go after. Sure, the government shuts down your restaurant, you can't have customers, you're at 25% capacity, you don't have a choice. Takeout business won't make it up. You're going to have to adapt the business to the point where it no longer looks like the business you had. There's plenty of stories like that. But that's the physical building. That's not you. You can adapt. People, well, you can adapt. You are an organism that can adapt. And if you read Darwin's On the Origin of Species by Natural Selection, which was written before DNA was understood, that book is always quoted as survival of the fittest, as the shorthand for that book. That's not what it says. That's not what the theory of evolution is. It's survival of the most adaptable, your ability to survive and pass on your genes. The survival of the most adaptable is the theory of evolution. And you can do that. And so if you're asking me what the business approach to 2021 is, post-pandemic, take stock of what you can do, take stock of your assets, lay them out, look at the marketplace. There's plenty of data to look at the marketplace. Everybody's got these tools available to them. So these tools are commoditized. You don't need a killer computer. You can have a killer smartphone. You get this done 100 ways to Sunday. And the last thing I'll say about a good business in 2021 is do not let great be the enemy of good. Just get it done. There's just ship early, ship half a product, get it done. There's plenty of time to evolve it. There's plenty of time to make it better. Getting it out the door, the longer you wait, it'll never be perfect, no matter what it is. And you're never going to know. You're never, ever going to know if there's a market for something while it's sitting in your inbox, while it's on your desk, while it's on the kitchen table. You'll never know. The only way to know is to put it out there. It's just what it is. The reason we're doing this today is that I started this I think I started it in March, maybe late February. I just wanted to understand how to do it. Just wanted to understand how to hang out with everybody here and get you to, all you guys to get on chat and chat back and forth. I wanted to be able to have the, fondly remember sound effect. And I wanted to be able to say, okay, let's rewind a little bit and take the tape back, and I wanted to tell dad jokes. And I wanted to do all that, and I wanted to be able to have stingers in between my, I want to be able to talk about the stuff. It's like, oh, here's our new thing. And wow, look at this. This is so cool. And I wanted to be able to do that. And I wanted to be able to put myself in a picks and picks kind of thing. And then be able to say, okay, let's expand this. I can zoom in and zoom out, like all these tools and tricks and all this silliness. I wanted to be able to put these lower little beepers on here. I just wanted to understand, how do you get all this done? What does this feel like? How does it work? what's cool, what's going to make sense for the future. What video capabilities do I really need to have right now in order to be able to compete, to literally be able to compete in a world where everybody's video all day long, or just literally night and day. What camera did I need? We talked about this over the past few weeks. What camera did I need? Do the teleprompters look like? I'm very proud to announce that although today I took a day off, I am a TikTok star now, which, was hard for me to imagine. Doing a TikTok video that got 77,000 views. Another one got 67,000 views. It's like, what? What? Seriously? Come on. So, and there's no reason for that, but it's something to try and understand. Is that a community where I can create value for my business? Is that a community where I can, drive awareness for the products and services that we offer? I don't know. I don't know yet. We'll find out. Moving on, because we got a few minutes left. EV battery tech status. So range anxiety, we're switching back to CS now. EV for electric vehicles, for those of you who are not aware of the initialism. Show the TikTok, please. Oh, I'm Shelly Palmer 5, I think. Let me see if I can do it. I don't know. Hold on. Wait. I think I can. Hold on. I'm not prepared to show it, but Shelly Palmer 5 on TikTok. I'm almost positive that's who I am. I'm looking on TikTok right now to make sure that that's who I am. So give me 1 second, because I got to figure out who I actually am. Yes, I'm at Shelly Palmer 5, and you will find so all of you TikTokers, you can find me there. EV, electric vehicle batteries. Range anxiety is still the big issue. They are getting better and better. The best of the vehicles come in the 400 miles in mild weather. The colder the weather is, the less the battery life. There are some issues with charging stations. Honda has done a really nice job. If you're going to go look around, they're not at CES, but Honda does have a really interesting program where they're working with electric companies all over the United States, actually all over the world, trying to get the power grid adjusted to work with these charging stations that they're putting out there. It's very, very interesting, the work they're doing. Everyone at Honda and everyone at every car company we've spoken to at CES believes that this is the transitional year for EVs, more so than AVs, autonomous vehicles. The other thing that's happening with cars still is driver assist is just getting better and better and better. And so the driver assist is where you're seeing all of the autonomous features are creeping in slowly through the driver assist. Cars that park themselves, collision avoidance, the ability of the car to talk to the house as it shows up, and the house being a smart home, activate a charger, open a garage door from the top of the driveway rather than in the driveway. The other thing that's happening this year that in automotive that I think is unfortunate is the FCC reapportioned a bunch of spectrum from CV to X, which was cellular vehicle to everything, to Wi-Fi. Now that's going to be great for Wi-Fi, but it's going to be unfortunate for this CV to X idea. The people at Honda tell us, and they're one of the leaders in CV to X, that stands for cellular vehicle to everything. It's a technology that would allow a pedestrian to have a smartphone in their pocket, have a car coming up that couldn't see them necessarily, either coming around a corner or whatever, know that there was a pedestrian there so that the car could avoid the pedestrian. These tools have been around for about a decade, and the car companies really haven't jumped on it the way they should have. And so the FCC kind of took away that spectrum and wants to use it for Wi-Fi. And you could argue that's a good thing or a bad thing. The guys at Honda say they'll just have to build some new tooling and put in some new radios that deal with new spectrum, and they will. That's their plan, is that they will. The flying car thing, they're flying drones. The tech is 3 years old now, working tech. We've seen the regulatory on that something else altogether. I don't know when regulatory is going to allow self-driving drones or even manned drones, flying cars. It would be cool, especially for us who live in Manhattan. We're going to talk a lot about transportation and the changes. Big question you got to ask yourself right now, really big question is, we were all Ubering up and lifting up. Everybody was spending a lot of money and time and energy on Uber and Lyft. And since the pandemic, no one wants to get in a car with a stranger who's driving. So the driver hours have gone way, way down. Will that come back as the vaccine gets deployed and as people start to get over COVID? Sure, 3 years from now, Uber is back and Lyft is back at full force. This year, 2 years? And if so, what does that do to car ownership? Because people want to be in their own vehicles that they can clean and they can keep other people out of. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to car dealerships, what's happening to, you look at Carvana and you look at some of the ways that the big car companies are now allowing you to shop online. They'll deliver the vehicle, let you test drive it. It's pretty fascinating what's going on. So yeah, it's pretty fascinating what's going on in the automotive industry. Electric cars are what they think. Electric cars are what they think is going to happen. And the driver assist is going to get better and better and better. It's a process. The question I have, and everybody has, is what's going to happen with car ownership? And also, if the migration out of the cities continues at this level, are we 1-car households or 2-car households? Are we 1 car plus Lyft? Are we 1 car plus a smaller car? What's the value proposition now? What are consumers really looking for? For a long time, people talked about gas mileage in cars, a long time. And yet we were still selling 6 and 8 cylinder cars for their performance. So you talk about the greenness of your car to a marketer or to a researcher or to your friends, and then you go out and you buy the car that, the made you feel like it had the best performance, best turning, most powerful engine, 455 horses, do something. Where's this all going to lead? Are we looking for inexpensive automobiles that get us place to place? Are we looking for commuter cars? Are we looking for pop around town cars? What happens to pickup trucks? It's a lot of research being done right now, and how much of that's going to stay and how much of that's going to go. So a lot of that's being discussed at the car companies that are displaying at CES. And yes, the new logo is fascinating too. Let's see. Okay, so one more time. At ces.shellypalmer.com, you can find all the speeches from yesterday. I hope you'll get a chance to do some of that because that's I'm very, very happy. Carolyn Everson did an amazing job explaining where Facebook is and also offering ways that you can create value for your own business using Facebook. They're featured partners. I don't need to get into this commercial for Facebook. Everybody knows who Facebook is, but they do have some tools. And if you're having trouble driving velocity for your business right now at retail or volume, Facebook is doing a thing that you should look into. It's really easy to do. It really is. I mean, it's like if you can read, you can buy an ad. By the way, it's not just Facebook. If you can read, you can buy an ad on Google. You can buy an ad on Twitter. You can buy an ad on LinkedIn. Just so that you understand, LinkedIn's probably the most expensive place to buy a click or an engagement. Twitter's right up there too. Then you start getting into Google, which depending on the keywords and key phrases you're looking at, that can get crazy expensive, like insane. Dermatologist in New York City is probably a $1,500 keyword. There's insanity that can happen. And then, Facebook, which is always lowest price against what it is you're trying to do because it's what they do, Facebook, Instagram. Is it the best? It depends on what you're advertising. Whatever you're trying to do, test, learn. But if you can read, you can get it done. And Carolyn explains that pretty nicely. Look, thanks everybody for hanging out. These questions have been great. I really appreciate also you chatting amongst yourselves. And I love the fact you guys spend time with me doing this every week. This is really one of my favorite things to do, just kind of here, hang out, talk to everybody. So we'll do it next week and we're going to keep doing it. If you've got questions, please reach out. You know where to find me. You can send me an email at shelly@shellypalmer.com and I'll be very happy to try to answer your questions. If there's anything we do to help you, let us know because, we're literally having an amazing year and I'm a little embarrassed to say how amazing. It's really extraordinary. And so anything we can do to help all of you do better, it's something that we truly, truly love to do. Thank you, David Charmants. I really appreciate the compliment. We tried very hard yesterday to make it good for everybody. We did our very, very best. So everyone, stay safe and God bless America. And we look forward to seeing you next time.